I asked a question to break the ice. I say, raise your hand if you are terminal. And so you see 2 or 3 hands, only a few, kind of like a little shy, but they have the strength to do it. And then I say, well, for those who didn't raise their hands, if this was a test, you all flunked because we're all terminal.
Did you grow up with this? Kids are to be seen and not heard. You do have a voice, and we want to hear it. If you have ever thought about sharing your story, speaking up, of course it's terrifying. Speaking is the number one fear most people face, but it doesn't have to be public. You could begin sharing your story just for your family. You might want to turn it into a podcast or a book, or maybe not. But the important thing is to start speaking, to start sharing your story. If this seems like something you want to do, and you want to just check it out, see if it's for you, go to www.coachlori.com and book a session with me. It's free, no tricks or trying to rope you in. It's just a way for you to explore what's next in using your voice to share your message, your story. www.coachlori.com.
Has your life, your dreams been interrupted? Good news. It is possible to reinvent our lives. People are doing it every day, and some are brave enough to share the struggles, disappointments, and challenges. If you are looking for a new beginning, a do-over, or to rediscover your passion, maybe even find a new one, then grab a cup of coffee and let's talk. Interrupted, Act 2, Reinventing Your Legacy, with your host, Coach Lori.
Georges Cordoba. He is an author, a survivor, a health coach, and a former
CTO, that means Chief Technology Officer.
And now he is living his best life. Tell us what you're doing now and what you absolutely love about it.
I'm a holistic health coach. I made the transition almost 8 years ago. It was really because of an experience battling cancer for 10 years and 10 surgeries I had. For me, instead of having, let's say, this trauma, I was, and I still am very thankful to the universe, to God, because surviving gave me the chance to sing the song I was born to sing, gave me my purpose. I was a technologist and I was doing well. I realized that if I was able to survive, not only that, but I decided to go natural after 8 years of treatments, conventional stuff. Obviously, I have nothing against the medical world, because if it wasn't for those 10 surgeries, especially 4 surgeries in my brain, 4 craniotomies, I would not be talking to you today. But that's what I do today. Today, I help people that are dealing with cancer or the threat of it, and I help them transform their health and vitality.
What do you love about it?
Things really flow in an amazing way. I know this because I was there. When you make a decision with faith and put it into action, God actually helps you, but you have to have the faith. I turned 64 years old. I have some buddies that ask me, when are you going to retire? And I say, what? Retiring? I found my purpose at 57 years old, and I just love, this is not a job for me. Even though obviously I have to charge for it, going against many things, including insurance. For holistic work, natural work, there's no insurance. But I love it. Singing the song I was born to sing is exactly that. Many people, including my clients, they, especially when they go over the second half of their life, they seem to not have a purpose. Just start panicking, I'm going to retire, they're going to retire me because their employees are. No, that actually doesn't have to be that way, and it shouldn't be that way. We do have talents. We're born with talents that we could put into action to help people. Let me tell you, part of my story and my healing process was helping others while I was going through the disease or my big scars with stitches in my brain. I was still going out there and helping people with cancer or other chronic disease, going with my kids to shelters, kids that were taken away from their parents because of use or they were in jail. The thing with servicing, I have a chapter in my book about this. Serving is healing. I have colleagues and also friends that would be making, and this is very uncommon for many people, but this guy was making close to $150,000 a month. He called me and said, look, I need your help. I need to learn how to meditate, and I just have this void in me. And I asked him, I know that you help in some of the organizations out there, but do you help people personally? Have you just touched somebody and say, look, I'm going to give you a hand with this. I know you're hungry. Come with me. Let's have a burger right there. No. In that void is really, we're born to help others. We are born to serve others. In fact, there's a book I read. I was ill at the moment. I read so many books. One of them, this is a guy that is, you can compare him to Mother Teresa, but he's a man, not a clergy guy, but he has dedicated, he still does, his life to help the kids that live in the streets of Bogota, Colombia. He did say this in his book, Back to the Basics. It's an amazing book. He says, if you really want to know the love of God, you need to descend to the heart of those whom you help. That's how you're going to find God. That's how part of my healing process was that, because I really kind of like filled up this void that I might have had before. It was always like, wait a minute, was I the one helped here? I was helping this lady and I feel so complete. That's what I mean singing the song I was born to sing. As a holistic coach, I help folks in 4 areas. I call it the 4 leg of the table. That's my metaphor. One of the legs is your physical self. The other leg is your emotional self. The third leg of the table is your mental self. And the fourth one is your spiritual self. What we do basically is work at least 90 days on each of those legs of the table. And with cancer, Lori, it is known now that it is not hereditary. Only 3% of the diseases, including chronic disease, are hereditary. The rest is really the family culture, the stuff that we do in our lifestyle that get us sick. So when I read, oh, do you have cancer in the family, or do you have, which I did, but it really is not hereditary. All chronic disease are emotional, by the way. This is crazy. I go once a year. Melanoma is really the worst cancer for skin cancer. It's even more aggressive than pancreatic cancer. But so I was in a dermatologist, and I told her that I was working with an 18-year-old kid that had melanoma tumors in the brain, and he was never in the sun. This kid was almost flunking high school because of playing games all night. Maybe that's where he got that. I said, maybe all that radiation or so. And she goes, well, but they just found out. There is an article in the New England Journal of Medicine that says that even melanoma, it's emotional. That's one tip. The other thing is all chronic disease, without exceptions, they begin in an inflamed body. I just gave a talk in Toronto, and there was a holistic MD. He was sick, not an oncologist, but he did what everybody, I told you, the rule of the mind is that everybody goes to familiar, which is running to an oncologist. So he did that as an MD himself. But after 3 years, he realized things were not working for him. So he started to really tap into alternatives, which most of us don't even think of when we are diagnosed. He started doing that. He started with some exercises from the East, yoga and Qigong. And he realized, he talked to a naturopath and a nutritionist, realized that he needed to make some changes in his life. But again, that's one leg of the table. That's your physical body. But I'm a nutritionist as well. And as a nutritionist, I actually specialize on the digestive tract. In terms of nutrition and digestion, 25% is what we eat, Lori. 75% is who we are when we're eating. Are we eating in a hurry? Are we stressed out when we eat because we just had an argument in traffic or whatever it is? The vagus nerve, which is basically the connection between the gut and our brain, it gets this, let's say, this signs that says, oh, Georges is stressed out, so the nutrition is not going to go well. But on top of that, and this is something very interesting with us in the U.S., almost 50%, almost, it's 48 now, 48.2%, almost 48% of the nation has 1 or 2 chronic diseases right now. And if we keep going the way we're going, by 2030, which is around the corner, half of the nation will be obese. So where is healthcare here? And obesity brings so many diseases. Without going on a tangent, I have to share that right now, according to the National Cancer Institute, 1 of 2 men will have cancer in their lifetime, and 1 of 3 women will have cancer in their lifetime. For example, the average American chews only 6 times before they swallow. That is crazy. That when you do that one time, but when you do that 3 times or 4 times a day, you're really starting to inflame your body because you're sending something that is not processed to the stomach. Your food digestion starts in our mouth. Our saliva enzymes need to process the food in order to then swallow, and the stomach knows, okay, it's processed, I do my point, and then it goes through the small intestine and so forth. But if you only chew 6 times, because you're in a hurry, you're stressed, you're doing 2 things. You're not doing a good digestion in terms of being stressed out or eating in a hurry. That doesn't work. And little by little, what happens though, the stomach doesn't know what to do, so it sends stuff to fat. And that's what starts creating acidity. The worst component here is that because you didn't process, the digestion wasn't processed and you didn't receive the nutrients, you're hungry half hour later. And there you go again and you eat again. And that loop creates 66% of the nation is overweight, close to obesity. So these things are not rocket science. All this stuff is what's creating all these diseases, and cancer really is becoming the number 1 killer worldwide. Cancer killed more people in 2020 than COVID did through 2022. 10 million people passed from cancer in 2020 worldwide. Singing the song I was born to sing, I'm passionate, you see, of this. I keep adding stuff to my curriculum. Last year I became a hypnotherapist and I incorporated this in my protocol, in my program. Cancer brings depression, fear, anxiety, a lot of cortisol and serotonin, which is not good for us. We need to basically work on having a balanced pH. One thing I want to promise you, I'd like to send you an ebook about the pH balance and your health. When I decided to go natural, I went to see a naturopath. When you surrender, by the way, to the process and try to stop controlling it, things happen. That's when the universe with God starts working if you are taking action. This guy, maybe 1 week just made that decision. I was on the fence for a long time because I had doctors and surgeons in my family and, no, you're crazy, keep doing the chemo. I said, look, I know myself. This is not working for me. He told me, he says, look, he did a non-invasive, non-FDA approved scan he got from Sweden, I think, or Germany. I could see myself inside, and it looked like 4th of July all over my body. I had so much acidity. I was so inflamed. Obviously, I was 7 years with chemos and different stuff that is really also acidic. He did say, okay, we're going to go to a 21-day detox and reset, okay, and then we're going to take a break, and then we're going to do another 21 days. But I have to tell you something. Disease cannot grow in a body. And remember, a few minutes ago, I told you that it all starts with an inflamed body. Well, he says disease cannot grow in a body that has a balanced pH. And if you have the disease, if you work on balancing your pH, you are killing the environment where the disease thrives to grow and multiply. That is the best, let's say, tip. And I'm going to send as a gift to you all this ebook on top of a table that shows which foods are acidic and which foods are alkaline. Another thing that is important to know, and this is one of the reasons people are getting so sick, if you drink a can of soda, which depending on which brand has 10 to 12 teaspoons of refined sugar, you will need 32 glasses of water to alkaline your body again, just from one can. Imagine people that drink 3 or 4 a day. We're killing ourselves. I do have a colleague, there's 8 million survivors. Out of those, about a third that did it the natural way, like myself. And he has, I quote him in my book, he says, cancer is a divine touch in the shoulder, and it has a message. And that message is, Georges, you have to change your lifestyle because you're killing yourself. So we bring that up to us. It's not hereditary. If we eat, let's say, fried pork all our lives since we're 3 years old, there's a lot of tips that we share today. It doesn't have to happen right now. My last few clients in this year, they just want to prevent. Cancer have touched everyone, indirectly or directly. One of them has a sister going through it. The other one has a wife going through it. So I'm coaching the wife and him separately. He's just a walking bomb for any chronic disease or a heart attack, which is a chronic disease, heart health. I've done talks of, we're supposed to have 30 people and only 5 show up. I have talks with 1,300 people. I talk at the HCI. So it doesn't matter if there's 5 people or 500 or 1,000. But I always, after they introduce me, I ask a question to break the ice. I say, raise your hand if you are terminal. And so you see 2 or 3 hands, only a few, kind of like a little shy, but they have the strength to do it. And then I say, well, for those who didn't raise their hands, if this was a test, you all flunked because we are all terminal. We just don't know. Look at the mindset of this. If they tell you because of a cancer that you're terminal, you probably go home. Many people go home to die at home. But the truth is, on those 10 years that I was fighting melanoma, advanced melanoma, I had buddies that died, a car accident, a heart attack, different things. We don't know. So everybody kind of laughs a little shy. And then I say, well, before I start, one other question. Raise your hand if you are absolutely sure that tomorrow morning you'll be opening your eyes. And nobody raises their hand. You see how the mind works? I do that on purpose. I explain why I did that. Because we're all terminal. We act around like time is forever. Time is not renewable. After our talk today, it's gone. Take care of what's left in your beautiful life here. It's just crazy. Based on all the clinical stuff that I learned in 18 months to become a hypnotherapist, and my wife says, not everybody's like you. If I could just go out there in a stadium, in different stadiums once a week and send the message that you can do it. You can move your mountain. That's my keynote talk. You can move your mountains. Mine, the highest mountain, the steepest was cancer. But mountains continue to raise in front of us, and we can move them. It could be alcoholism, it could be addiction, it could be a divorce, it could be many things. People that lose their countries for war and they have to migrate somewhere else. There's plenty of mountains that we can move them all.
I listened to this podcast called Hidden Brain with Shaker V. Dotton, and he told the story about these 2 women. It was in another country, and they both went for their yearly check, and one was told she had cancer, and the other was told she had a clean bill of health. They both went home, and the one with the cancer diagnosis passed away. And the next year, when the one woman went back, they said, oh my goodness, we mixed up your charts. You actually had cancer, but we don't see it now.
It is crazy. Yeah, there's so many stories like that. I was at a conference. Before I became a speaker, it was a holistic conference. There were these twins, identical twins, and their mom had breast cancer. Their grandmother had breast cancer. Their great-grandmother had breast cancer. When they realized all this, one of the twins decided to change the dieting and stuff that the family has been doing for generations. And guess what? She didn't get cancer, breast cancer. Her sister did. If it was generic or hereditary, they both would have it. And that's another thing that I was telling you. There's a wonderful book that came out about 15 years ago, Epigenetics. And it tells you how we have the power to reform, to actually change some of our genes. Not the DNA, but some of these genes that are already used to certain things. And those are the ones that produces chronic diseases. If in 90 days, many of my clients want to continue because they feel they already put their feet on water, but they need accountability. The truth is, if you work on those 4 legs of the table, remember, if we're missing one of those legs, you can't eat on it. If you get to work and little by little, like a tortoise, not fast, and that's another problem that we have in the world now. Everybody wants everything yesterday. That doesn't work.
It really is mindset. And if you just focus on mindset, then when people do pass, it's easy to judge them and say, you didn't work on that. But it's mindset, it's health, it's spirituality.
The physical body, where everything happens on the physical body, but it doesn't start there. In any chronic disease, when they believe that they call it remission, which I hate it, because they're telling you psychologically that it can come back. That doesn't work. They tell you, oh, you're in remission. No, but why do you tell me that? That's your mindset. People continue to have recurrences because the traditional, let's say, medicine stuff that we go to, they're not psychologists, they're not nutritionists, they're not acupuncturists or masseurs or Reiki masters. I became a Reiki master. All this stuff we do, my wife and I, she is also helping on this. But you're going to continue to have recurrences. Listen to this until you find the root cause. And the root cause is usually emotional, usually most of the time. And it has component of obviously your mindset. If you have no connection to Mother Earth and no spirituality, I'm not talking about religion. You could be religious and spiritual. You could be religious and non-spiritual, or spiritual and non-religious. I'm both. I grew up as a Catholic Christian, so I see Jesus as one of my gurus, as a man. He just taught love and service. He performed miracles, but I'm finishing a book. It's called The Miracles Formula. I can say that I'm one of them because I learned how to receive. People have a hard time receiving, and it's easier to give. But when you learn from the heart, you open your heart to receive, and the person that is giving you has no agenda but love to give you, then a channel opens with God. The universe performs the miracle. And if you look in the New Testament, Jesus never said, oh, I'm the Son of God. No, he always said, Lori, your faith has healed you. Georges, your faith has healed you. To Lazarus, all his miracles were your faith has healed you, because you opened your heart to receive my energy. And I gave you, with love, I gave you that. Why people don't get stuff that they ask for is because somewhere inside themselves, they don't feel worth receiving. We have to work on that. And that's on the emotional side, the mental side. I failed to tell you that I play tennis. I tried to play professionally for a while, but I live in New Mexico now. I moved 2 years ago from Miami, and this is where I went to school, New Mexico State University. I play tennis for the team, NCAA Division I tennis, and they paid for my degree as long as I would be making the team and having the grades. That's another thing that I do, and it helped me a lot when I was sick, because I already knew the art of visualization, closing my eyes and visualizing myself free of cancer, depending on what you want to, which is another rule of the mind, by the way. The mind does exactly what you think, what you say, or what you visualize. I mean, it doesn't know anything else. Doesn't know if you're saying the truth or false, and what you say in the present moment. It doesn't know tomorrow or yesterday. What you say or what you think, it does everything possible with your subconscious mind to make it happen. How amazing is this rule? And if you have faith and put it to action, your cancer, your heart disease, your diabetes will go away. But you have to work on it. You have to take action. I tell people, I learned this with Tony Robbins. Every year, New Year's resolution, you have this illusion, you're going to do this. But if you don't put action, you have this intention. But if you don't put action, it becomes an illusion. And it's an illusion next year and an illusion. You have to take action.
We are walking away with so many amazing thoughts and theories and concepts. And I'm sure you've seen me just nodding my head along with you. Thank you so much for what you bring. And I think what really touched my heart is that nothing is a curse that we can't turn around. We don't have to sit in our chair and retire or take a diagnosis. We can still walk. And I don't even like to call it a battle. My friend said, I didn't say I was fighting cancer. He said, I called it up and invited it to dinner and made it my friend. Before we go, I have two questions. One is, how do we find you, and what is the name of your book, and where can we find it? So how do we find you?
You can find me on Instagram, is at Coach Georges. You can DM me, and I also have a website, www.QUALE, and then VITA. It's Qualivita, QUALE V as in Victor, ITA.com. And you could actually schedule an appointment with me. You could get the book, the ebook there. Is interested in getting these gifts, I'll send you a link where they can download all. The title of my book is Beating the Odds, and the subtitle is My Journey Through Holistic Health to Overcome Advanced Cancer. But if they look for me, Georges Cordoba, Beating the Odds, they'll see it.
Tell us what you really want us to know.
No one will believe in you until you believe in you.
If you love this podcast, here's a big ask. Will you share with your friends and family, subscribe, give us a review, and a 5-star rating so that others looking to reinvent their lives will be able to get the help they're looking for? Thank you in advance.